Well, hello, and welcome to another episode of the Laughter for All podcast. I am comedian Nazareth, and thank you for joining me for this episode 220, number 220. So good to be with you guys. My guest tonight is a comedian, a friend of mine. He performs with me several times, and he's also a sensei, a martial arts sensei. So it's going to be a fun episode. So join us right now on the Laughter for All podcast.
Welcome to Laughter for All. It's the podcast with comedian Nazareth.
Well, hello, and welcome to the Laughter for All podcast. I am comedian Nazareth, and thank you for joining me for this episode. And I know last week I was not with you, and I was gone. Where was I? I was somewhere doing something that has to do with comedy. And what do you call it? So I just came back in town late last night, and I want to remind you of the Laughter for All comedy concert coming up in September 14th up in Northern California at Red Bluff State Theater in Northern California. It's about an hour and a half, hour 40 minutes north of Sacramento, and also about half an hour south of Redding. So if you're in that area, we'd love for you to come and join us for a free concert and invite your friends and neighbors and loved ones and your Jehovah Witnesses knock on your door, your solar people, if they do come. But you know something neat? This is how God works. We were asked to cancel this show, recommended to cancel this show because of the fire, and they blocked the 5 freeway and all that. But then somehow the fire moved away, and the firefighters were doing a great job. I think they almost got it under control. So what we're gonna do on the September 14th, if you are a firefighter or a family of a firefighter, you are VIP, our guest. We want to honor you. We want to appreciate you. So come down and bring your family, and we're gonna laugh for a couple hours. So go to laughterforall.org and get your free ticket. That's what we're gonna ask you. Right now, I have a friend. We worked together. Before COVID, after COVID, he was just with us at La Mirada Laughter for All, and also we did the Bakersfield together and a couple others. Very funny guy. He's a Hollywood guy. He has a unique style of high energy comedy that reaches everyone, having fun with audiences of all ages is a God given talent that Rocky has mastered. He's a former Hollywood personality with appearance on TBS Friends, MTV Showtime, and a former host of the TV show and the radio segment, The Hollywood Rockin' Wrap Up. This 18-year-old veteran of television and stage will keep everyone in stitches with humor from all walks of life. He pokes fun at everything from single to married life, friends to family, observations to experiences, from preaching to his martial arts ministry. So, can you please help me welcome my friend Rocky Whatule? Hi, Rocky.
Hey Naz, that was the best intro I've had, but it sounded like you said I was 18 years old, and
No,
I was
you
like,
said you have an
oh my
18-year
gosh,
old career. No, you're not
I do. I have
18.
to update that, but I have to update that bio. But yes, it's at that time it was 18, but yes, it's been a minute, and I gotta be honest, one of the highlights is getting to work with you. I'll be honest.
Oh,
I'm thankful we're friends. It is an honor. It is always an honor. So thank you
ye-
for having me on the show.
thank you so much. I mean, why did you leave Hollywood?
Why did I leave Hollywood?
Why?
Um, Oh, I'm glad we didn't have any questions prepped. So I left Hollywood because at the time it was consuming me. And it's funny, as I mentor a young actor right now, and I was becoming Mr. Hollywood producer, Mr. The decisions was making wasn't best for me and my family, but it was always best for me and my career. And so
Mm.
I left Hollywood for really a really long time. And I didn't think that I was going to come back to doing stand up. And the interesting thing is God sent somebody my way, called me up, and said, "Hey, we need another show." And I had done the show and then booked other comedians about 3 years in a row. And they're like, "Hey, it'd be great for you to come back." And I'm like, "I actually don't perform anymore." And they said, "Why?" And I went to answer, and I could just feel it tugging on my heart. And
Mm.
almost God saying, "I never told you to stop. I told you to stop doing the ugly stuff that you were doing. I never told you to stop." And so I went back to doing stand up. In the meantime, I had started the karate ministry, which
Uh-huh.
basically, I tell people I get to punch and kick people in the name of Jesus. And
That's funny.
people always ask, like, what is a karate ministry? What does that mean? And I go, well, where in martial arts, and there's a big spirituality that comes with training and really being a true martial artist, and where a lot of people they remove Eastern philosophy and they don't fill it with anything, because in the United States, we even if you don't believe in God, you don't want to go down the
Eastern, yeah.
exactly. But when that's what you believe, that becomes a part of your spirituality. And when my students are taking a second to breathe in between techniques or whatever, and I've learned to condense an entire, an hour sermon in 2-3 minutes. That's it. Because the best part about it is that is the human being attention span. It used to be that's a child's attention span. No, that's a 45-year-old's attention span.
Yes.
3 minutes.
I don't even
God
do 3 minutes. I can't go
no.
3 minutes.
God loves you. Stop doing what you're doing, and that's it. Like that.
Yeah.
That was. I. What's funny is early in when I started melting the worlds of comedy and teaching the gospel and karate, I was talking about like God getting your attention, and I said for me, God's got my attention different ways, and I had a stack of bricks, and I broke the bricks, and I said I do this to get your attention, and one of the teachers came up to me and she's like, "My student thinks that God will break you like bricks to get your attention. I don't think that they understood." And I go, "Well, listen, if that got their attention, then maybe that's what we needed to do."
That
But it's been a fun journey. It really
that's
is.
funny. Now, when did you start? What got you into martial
So
arts?
it's funny, the whole story. So short, my best friend Bill
No, don't
Viola.
be short. I want to hear
Oh,
the story.
I'm 5'8". You're getting short. That's it.
Oh, I see.
All right. So my entire life from the age of 4 to about 9.5, 10 was hockey. Actually, a lot of people don't know this. I played hockey in Canada. I played in an international league in juniors.
Really?
I actually still referee ice hockey. I referee college. The highlight for me last year, I ref the UCLA ASU game here in Valencia. And my karate school is actually, we rent space inside an ice rink in Santa Clarita, which is great because I never have to pay for air conditioning. Nobody ever
Oh,
complains
that's
about
funny.
how
That's
hot it
funny. I
is.
never thought of that.
But so hockey, my whole life was hockey. I didn't really have a lot of friends. I had teammates, but my whole focus, my whole identity was hockey. The reason my finger looks the way that it does is when I broke it, they said, we're going to put a pin in it and for it to heal properly. And I had hockey tryouts the next day. And I'm like, no, like just that's my identity. If I don't have hockey, what do I have? And so tape it together. That's the worst going to happen. And then a lot of people know that, that's the worst that happens. It's bad. But up until like 11 years old, then I met my best friend. Now, his whole life was karate. His dad owns our karate school, and we met at Christian grade school, and we became best friends. And actually, there's a whole story. We met prior to that where we got into a fight at another friend's birthday party, where he was telling me he's this karate master, and I'm telling him I'm this hockey star, and we're two little, 9-year-old, 10-year-old kids just, puffing up our chest to see who's bigger and better at what they do. And I said, so you're a black belt? And he's like, well, no, I'm a brown belt. And I'm like, well, you can't be a karate star. I knew nothing. I knew nothing. I'm like, you can't be a karate star unless you're a black belt. Well, he was a karate star and he beat the crap out of me. And it was
Oh, you guys
snowing.
fought together, right?
Oh yeah, we
With
fought
each
again.
other.
Yeah, so and it was snowing outside. And the funny thing is, we joke about this year. He became my best friend. You know, he's my best friend. His father's my sensei and my karate dad. You know, we call him Papa Shihan. That's my pops. And so he is currently with his daughter, my niece, in Budapest, Hungary, as we speak. They have a team of, personally from our karate school, there's a team of 5 people, a part of this 50-person team representing the United States at the World Championships. And
Wow.
so I'm actually joining with them and my son. Next month we're going out to Portugal. But that whole part of my life from 11 years old, his dad's like, why don't you come and train? It'll make you a better hockey player. And I'm like, oh my God, yeah. And I could learn how to fight. I play hockey. I got to learn how to fight, right?
Right.
And so I loved it. I loved it. And I got to spend time with my best friend. And that was it. That was it for us.
Now,
And so
let me interrupt the story. How did who was pushing you to do hockey? Was it your dad?
So the funny thing is, my mom, and God rest her soul, she's not dead. Like, I'm just praying,
Oh, yeah,
God,
yeah.
it's time. Yeah,
Yes.
she's done. And then she's getting up there in age. And so my mom took me to the ice rink. I was 4 years old and I wanted to play hockey. And so they needed players. The organization, they needed players. They're like, we just need to put names on a roster. And so I'm playing with kids that are like 8 and 9, that's unheard of nowadays. Like, they actually have teams that are for 6 and under, but not back then. And so I'll never forget, we go into the pro shop and my mom's like, well, you need a stick. And I grabbed a goalie stick. I'm like, I want the goalie stick because I like the goalie.
Uh-huh.
And so she buys me a goalie stick thinking that would help me get the puck because it was so much bigger. Like, she didn't even know anything about hockey. My dad knew nothing about hockey. But my dad, now that man, and he has passed away, but he was such an inspirational human being that he knew nothing about hockey. And he was going to teach himself how to be a hockey coach and how to spend time with me. And he eventually became the head of the Hockey Coaching Association in Pennsylvania. Like, he couldn't skate, couldn't play. I don't think I ever remember my dad shooting a hockey puck, but he could coach and he could motivate. And he was a worship leader and he knew how to touch people's lives and encourage them. As a matter of fact, when my dad passed away, over 1,000 people came to pay respect. And he was a barber. That was his job. But it was one of these things where he was just, I look at, he had given me a game plan on how to impact everybody that you meet. And he would say, every person you meet, it's like leaving a footprint in the sand. Like, we know the old saying, footprints in the sand, where there's only one set of footprints. God, where were you? He goes, those are my footprints. I was carrying you the whole time. But my dad would tell me, like, when you walk, you leave an impression. You can leave a good impression or you can leave a bad impression. And even in the times in my career and in karate and stuff, if I wronged somebody or if I did something right, I remember early in my comedy career, just making so much noise that I disturbed the guy in the room next to me. And they were like, hey, we have to comp this room. And I'm like, let me pay for his room. Because I realized if I was that problem, then that club wasn't going to ask me back. And I did that. And the producer, I'll never forget, the producer's like, why would you do that? And I told him, I go, listen, if I upset these people, I don't lose just one club. You book 30 clubs. That's a lot of work. And so my parents, they pushed me into anything that I wanted to do. Like, if I wanted to be a basket weaver, my mom was going to be like, show everybody your baskets. Like, she saw that I was good in hockey and then they kept pushing me. And I had a passion for it. And the same thing with karate. And karate is actually what got me into stand-up. Because at 17 years old, 18 years old, I'm already teaching. And I got my black belt at 18. And my sensei comes along. It was 2 classes that karate schools, because back then it was very macho, a lot of men. You didn't get a lot of women taking karate. And if you did, they were scary. You didn't want to fight these women. Like, they were Cynthia Rothrock comes from our part of the world, and Cynthia is an amazing, amazing martial artist, and you wouldn't want to fight her either. And so not a lot of kids because we punched. It was real. And even I continue to say, we don't teach magic wand karate in our dojo. We teach real karate. And so
What's the difference? What's the difference?
Oh, so magic wand karate, and the other terminology we call them McDojos. And they're like McDonald's. There's one in every corner. You show up. After so many months, they give you a blue belt. After so many months, they give you a green belt. It's almost like No Child Left Behind. And by the end of 2 years, you got a black belt, and you can yell, and you can sit pretty, but you couldn't fight a cold. Like and I'll work with these students, and it's not specific to style. A lot of us karate guys will poke fun and say, well, it's Taekwondo. No, it's not always Taekwondo. There's other karate schools out there, and it's called karate. And flat out, they're just taking money and giving you a false sense of confidence. Like, you will get confident and you will believe in yourself. It's almost like prosperity gospel, like that. like all honesty, like, hey, if you love Jesus, everything's gonna go your way. And like, no, it never said that. As a matter of fact, if I look in the Bible, it says, if I love Jesus, people are gonna hate me. Like, that was. Like, they think, like, if you know karate, we pray you don't have to use it. But if you have to use it, you don't want to hit somebody as hard as you can and realize that's not hard enough. And I'll work with, like, I taught self-defense at a school once as a gym class. Yeah, as a gym class. And this girl was like, I have a 2nd degree black belt in Taekwondo. And I loved her confidence. And I'm like, okay, you're a 9-year-old little girl. Like, a 2nd degree black belt. Okay. Like, right. So I was teaching them, well, we don't do that way. We do it this way. I'm like, all right, well, hey, why don't you give it a shot? Like, it's a language. There's not, right or wrong language. That's different languages. And so on the last day, I put on my karate helmet and hockey gear. And it was like my own version of what we call Red Man suit, where I'm like, I'm going to be the bad guy. I'm going to try to grab you. And if I can put you in that hula hoop over there, you lose the game, because essentially that's like somebody kidnapping you. Yeah. And taking you away. But I went through 6 weeks. Like, these are the things you do. You can punch, you can kick, you can scream, bite, anything that I've taught you, but you get away. So out of these 8 girls, the one that had no training was the one that I was able to grab and put in that hoop, because she hauls off and kicks me as hard as she can in the head, but it wasn't hard enough to stop somebody. But the girls with very little training, they scratched, they punched, they did the things that I taught them, because it was real application. Wow. And even like you see a natural little 4-year-old, right? Where they don't want to do something, or they're scared, and they cover their eyes. And I always laugh. I'm like, this is how the bad guy goes away. Well, it in some cases it can startle the bad guy, but if they want to grab you, that is what it is. So we've been saying that for years. Like, you can't just pretend and wave your hand. Like, you got to learn how to take a hit. You got to learn how to be hit. In our style, it's Shotokan. It's a very, what we call hard style, traditional style. You're not looking at a black belt before 5.5 to 6 years. Now, that's hard dedication.
Okay, let me. I have a lot of questions from what you said, and we'll continue. The first question is, like, let's say you're a mother listening to or watching the show, and you go, "How can I tell the difference between someone who's saying, saying, okay, it's karate, but it's not, as someone like your mojo, where Right. Is it mojo? Is that or
martial arts is a blanket statement. Okay. And I always like using metaphors. So martial arts, and then you got Taekwondo, karate, Kung Fu, Wing Chun, Krav Maga, and the list is endless. And even within karate, you've got Shotokan, Shitaru, Goju-ryu, Kyokushin. Even in karate, there's a different breakdown. So think like church. You've got Christianity, you got Methodists, you got Presbyterians, you've got evangelical, and then even with your and non-denominational or interdenominational. Then you've got
traditional,
Then you've got Foursquare, it's so Vineyard, like it breaks down. What the reality of it is, if you use faith as an example, pointing you to God, getting in a community, getting into a church is 100 times better than being atheist, right? It's just,
Right.
you're seeking the truth. People will find where they work out. Like if you're a mom and you're trying to find out if it's a valid school, first of all, you want to know how long does it take to get to your belt ranks. Like if they're testing the kids every 2 months and you're being charged every 2 months, then you might want to find out how expensive the rent is where they're at, because
That's good. That's good.
so that's the a lot. Like if you go into a big plaza, like as a business owner, that's expensive rent. So that means it's very much. I'm not saying that it's not a good school. I'm just saying if you go into a plaza, expect there to be some expensive costs to
Love the
it.
fees. Yeah.
Yeah, and so um, the going and finding out the root, finding out the history of what martial arts are. Go Google, go study the different martial arts. Krav Maga, amazing self-defense art. It is really not for kids under 12, or I would even say 15. And the reason being, it doesn't teach control. It teaches you how to mess somebody up, how to break somebody's knee, how to really take them out, but doesn't necessarily teach the control that you would need, let's say, for 2 8-year-olds squaring off in school because one kid, made fun of another kid's Pokemon. I don't know. Like kids get into fights. So understanding listen, and my personal website, shameless plug, is rockyw.com. You can actually go to senseirocky.com. That will also take you to my karate school. The listeners, drop me an email. I've helped people all over the United States find a legitimate school. And there's networks in the world of martial arts. My sensei is very well known. I'm known. And avoid chains. Like if there's a school that they only go to, and I'll just say it, ATA, it's a big chain. They only go to their chain schools. Now I know some great ATA schools, but there's a couple. Like the bulk of them, we only associate ourselves with our school. Like we don't want to ever take the chance of getting beaten by a different school in a different style. So when my students compete, we'll compete against anybody. Really, that's kind of how we go. So that's a couple ways to find
know.
out if yeah.
Okay. Question. You said for 6 weeks you taught a self-defense class to people. What's some highlights? Like people are watching who will never go to a self-defense class. What is some pointers you can give them to protect themselves?
Here's a number one for a tool. If somebody, let's go to the most extreme. Somebody grabs a gun, points a gun at you, or they pull a knife at you. Okay, run. I think like that's number one. Run. Not too often is somebody going to chase you, especially if a knife. Unless you're being mugged by a circus juggler, nobody's throwing that knife after you. Okay, and if it's a gun, my wife is in law enforcement. She practices thousands of rounds on every practice day, and she'll tell you and she shoots expert. And the hardest thing to do is hit a moving target. Like don't run in a straight line so they can like line you up, but you run, get out of there. If you have to fight back when you're engaging, that's an entirely different story. And I will sit with students and people that have never, and I'll pull somebody up and I actually have a fake gun that looks real. And I use it because sometimes people never ever seen a gun. And like, so if I'm a bad guy and I go, get in the car, you're never going to see your family again. What do you do? And they're like, get in the car. I'm like, that's the wrong answer. Like if you get in the car, you're not coming back. If you engage with somebody who has a knife, rule 1 is run. Rule 2, you're going to get cut. It's just, you're going to get cut. You have to determine where you want to get cut. Obviously I don't want to get stabbed in any of my organs. I don't want to get cut on the bottom part where my veins are, but I might get cut here. All right. That's safe. That's safer than getting cut here or getting cut in my face and that kind of stuff. Being being knowledgeable in those things, right? And then the third biggest thing I can tell somebody who's never stepped on the mat is never stop fighting back. Like if
Mm.
you are being abducted, you kick, you punch, you do whatever you need to do. You scrap. There are no rules in the street. There are like back to that other question you asked, how do you know at your karate school? Ask them when they spar, when they practice fighting, is the face off limits?
Mm.
Because if face is off limits, they're never practicing to protect the moneymaker. They're not practicing to protect the face. I'll get tons of taekwondo because Olympic style taekwondo, they're not allowed to punch to the face. They can kick to the face. They don't punch to the face. They're not, I get them into the dojo. We start working around. They're not used to that. It'll, and jujitsu, I just saw a quote on guys like jujitsu is great. But it also teaches you how to wrestle controlled. Listen, nobody wants to tap out. If they're fighting out there, nobody's trying to tap out. And that's a term for just, I give up, right? You got to wrestle and there are no rules. You know, if I'm grabbing, I stick my finger up your nose and trying to drag you off me, I'm going to do those things. So understanding the realistic of what's being taught. And to kind of go back, my ADHD went all over the place. I saw a great post from a jujitsu instructor who said, I've been teaching my students how to strike and get hit. And I'm bringing in strikers. And that's what they'll call traditional karate guys, because you can be a black belt in jujitsu, but after you've been punched 4 times in the face, quickly you become a purple belt. like everything you've learned, and the same thing, like as a karate guy, if I've never ever experienced what it feels like to drop to the ground and wrestle, or have some behemoth land on top of me, and I don't know how to get out of that, I'm a yellow belt again. I'm just, get off me, please. So expanding
Right.
your knowledge on these things, and that really, really is key. And I think a self-defense class is number one important for everybody. Like if you look at other countries, they're required to serve a year in military, and a lot of other countries. And it teaches a lot of stuff, right? But they also learn how to protect themselves. Basic in Japan, they teach karate in the school systems. They teach a form of it. Shotokan was actually one of the first schools or styles that were taught in school systems. Shotokan is taught in colleges all over the place. One of the things, MUNIO, Munyo Keychain Self-Defense. You can, and I realized I just saw it over here. This keychain, all right, and I actually had this one. This one's my cool one. I had that one made special. This keychain, countless stories of how this has saved lives. I've got this through an airport. I've got this flown internationally. I've got it in courthouses because it's a keychain, but it seriously is a weapon. It's got a little pokey side to it. Somebody grabs you and you get them in the ribs. Use your keychain almost like a weapon or a mace or nunchucks. And I teach a workshop. There are workshops all over the United States. They come in, I want to say 28 to 30 different designer colors. So nobody ever is going to guess, oh, that's a weapon. It's actually, as I was looking. Oh,
wow. Where did you get it?
So you can go to munyo.com. So this is actually, these are my keys. I look like a janitor, right? But like I can swing that part. I can jab that part. MUNIO.
NUNIO.
M as in Mary. MUN as in Nancy. Munyo keychain self-defense. Google it. Century has them for sale. I've got a bunch here that I sell. I actually teach. I don't have my next Munyo workshop online. If you're in the Southern California, actually, I think I do. If you're in the Southern California area and you would like to, you can go to my my website, senseirocky.com. And I'm actually going to pull up the date while I'm talking to you. But it is absolutely amazing tool for self-defense. And it's something that I've watched 7-year-old girls drop their 6'2" father because he'd grab them, right? And so they grab it and they right into his thigh, and it's non-lethal, but it will drop you. It will absolutely
Really?
drop. Yep, yep. And
How
I
much do
used
they
it
go for?
$15, I think. So they're
15 or
$15.
50?
1.5.
One five.
They're
That's not
1.5.
bad. I mean, to have.
No, and I actually teach the workshop. I want to say the workshop is okay. Oh, there it is. So my next workshop is October 3rd out here in Santa Clarita,
Santa
and
Clarita, which is in the valley in
in the
California,
north.
north of
Yep,
Los Angeles. If
yep.
you're
And it's $45, and the Munio comes with it. So really, you're getting to learn how to use it for $30,
and the
and it
class is
is
how long?
our class.
An
And
hour
for
class.
me, for me, if you ever take one of my classes and you ever want to come into another workshop and get a refresher, I never charge anybody for the refresher, and I'll go over more advanced techniques. And I have black belts that when they see this, they're like, "Oh my gosh!" Like that's the most amazing thing because it's simple, and that's and I'll go and actually after you learn how to use this, you can find other tools of torture, if you will. I mean, I'll show people how to use their own cell phone uh, in self defense, but you're never going to grasp this until you can grasp the simplicity of the keychain being
I
so forth and so on. But
some
that, oh, go ahead.
Dave Graveman. We have about 70 people watching right now. Just can you fight on the ice?
So Dave Griffman is actually one of the referees that I work with,
Oh, okay.
and so a great guy. Dave Griffin is an absolute great guy. Um, but have I fought on the ice? Yes. So when I played hockey, I led a league in fights. I only lost one, and that was actually at a practice fighting my own teammate because my mouth at the time was not edifying, and I was running it, and he got upset, and he went to. No, he can't. Bill Seiler. That's a kid I played high school hockey with. Funny, Bill. But
Uh,
actually, my teammate who I was playing with on Steve Kukula. If I'm
uh-huh.
saying his name right. Even his name sounded scary. But he was a fighter too, and that was the only fight on the ice that I ever truly lost. But not. Yeah.
Now, was it like you never worried about bullies, right? When you're 8, you started, or 9, you started
So
working and doing
I
karate.
I never I never had a problem with physical bullies. Like that was never the problem. And in school, when Bill Seiler actually went to school with me, um, I was known as the class clown. I was known as the guy whose mouth would get me into trouble. And part of that was I felt like he tickled.
Is that Bill Seller?
That was Bill. Yes. And yeah, I don't know if I'm embarrassed by that, Bill, that he sat on me and tickled me.
Oh, that ruins the whole karate idea. Like
I
this
know
guy
that's
is a black belt, and someone says, "Oh, I sat on him and tickled him." That's really. Oh, I don't want
I
to take
love
the
it.
class anymore.
I
You can
love
keep
it.
your keychain.
Like yeah, if you pull a gun on him, he's fine, but you tickle him, Elmo's done. Elmo's. Bill, that brightened my day. Yeah, so stop me, tickle me.
That's
I
funny.
did have guys that I would just poke and poke and poke till they would they'd want to fight me, right? And so
Mm.
I got into some altercations in high school, but nothing too drastic. And I was never felt like I was singled out or I was tortured or I was picked on. And it's funny because my comedy was even coming out there. Like I was the class clown. I was the one that would say the horrible things. And with great power comes great responsibility. And I kind of
Speaking of
deviated.
that, I mean, I want to ask this question so bad. Is it true that once you get a black belt, you are considered like you are carrying a weapon and you have to report? Is that a lie? A myth?
Okay, so yes, the I love you, Bill. He's like, I love you, buddy. And I'm glad you're listening in. Um, so it's funny is I was on an airplane once, right? And
Uh-huh.
so I had this guy ask me that same question, and
Yeah.
so I had so much fun just with him. I'm like, oh yeah. I go, yeah. They make you go down to the courthouse, right? They first they fingerprint you, right? And then they take an imprint of your knuckles, okay? And then you got to do an imprint of your palm, and then
Your
they
foot.
weigh they weigh, yeah, your foot. Then they weigh your hands, and this guy's like, oh yeah, like, and
Oh.
then they put your hand out, and then they make you draw your hand like when you draw a turkey for thank. And he's like, really? I'm like, no, no, they don't make you do any of that. Like, there's
Really?
no. So
I believe that. I'm like,
no,
okay.
so I have to register. I have to register my hand. So no, it's what it is in the event that you use karate, right? And
Mhm.
people are like, well, do you acknowledge that you're a karate master? Like, no, like people think that if I tell you I'm a karate master, we're not going to fight, that makes somebody go, oh, okay. No, they want to challenge you even more at that point there. Like,
Mm.
majority of martial artists, like, if we can avoid the fight, we want to avoid the fight. The fights that um, the, dude, the comments are great. He says,
I
I don't
know.
have to
I
show
love
my
it.
hands, my ugliest pinky ever. That
Uh,
is, that is
Oh,
absolutely fantastic.
you think you're looking at it? We put it on the big screen a few times on the during the Laughter for All shows, concerts. Remember, we
Oh
had
my
it
gosh.
on the big.
Was it Kevin just said he has a nurse who swears up and down sideways that she had to register her hands, and my lifelong study of Shotokan didn't convince him otherwise. Yeah, you don't have to register your hands, but in the event that you use karate, you are compared to a pro boxer. Imagine if a pro boxer beats somebody up to a pulp or kills
Mhm.
them, the defense and the prosecution is going to come at them like they knew what they were doing. It's different than, uh, Joe Schmo or even Nazareth protecting himself. Like, if you protected yourself, right, and let's just say you hurt somebody, broke their arm, or did something fatal, well, that's different. Like, it was just self-defense,
Right.
But somebody like myself, they're going to go, but you also had the ability of no control. Same thing happens for police officers when they shoot, and there's a deputy involved shooting or a police involved shooting. They're
Right.
questioned to go, could you avoid the shot?
Right.
If I have a gun and I'm not in law enforcement and I use my gun, the ability to know could I have avoided the shot is less heightened because I haven't gone through hours of training of gun training that law enforcement has. And it's a little unfair, um, because they're always so scrutinized. But living with someone, I know what the training they go through, and I know in a split second having to analyze. And when my wife and I talk, she's like, not only are you analyzing where I'm shooting, right? But I have to analyze what's behind them, because if the bullet misses, I'm responsible for whatever that bullet does.
Right.
And so I mean, we took it to a dark turn, but that's the reality of it. Is I don't have to register my hands, but I am liable and responsible for what I do. Before I forget, because my ADHD was like a
Yeah.
boomerang. It came back around when you a comedy karate got me into comedy because we started two classes when I was 18, 19. We started a kickboxing class, which I still teach. And I'm quite proud of it because I always say that I will help you get in shape. Not only will I help you get in shape, I'll help you get a butt that you can bounce a quarter off of and get 2 dimes and a nickel back. And so that was one of the classes I taught. And then I was teaching the little kids because we started bringing all these little kids, kindergarten karate. And I learned if you make little kids laugh, you can get them to do whatever you want them to do. And so
Right.
me being silly sensei and being a clown, class clown, I could get these kids to focus, but would still have our silly times and our silly moments. And watching people laugh and having the ability to make people laugh was such an amazing feeling that I was like, hey, I want to do this on a large scale. So every organization and team banquet and things that I was on, people started asking me to MC because I was charismatic and I would write certain jokes for the organizations or
Uh-huh.
for, karate. One year I went through all the different like superpowers that a karate belt from white belt to black belt, black belts can leap over buildings with a single bound and faster than a locomotive or stronger than a locomotive, faster than a speeding bullet. And it went all the way down to like a white belt. White belt trips over a doorstep when they walk into the building. They poke their eye out with a stick and they say, "Ooh, look at the choo-choo." So it was this funny thing. And it just sparked this to eventually I did the Funny Bone in Pittsburgh. And I'll never forget, like, I look at my brother and I'm like, "Hey, listen, I found out they do this open mic night at the Funny Bone in Pittsburgh." And he looks at me and he's like, "Seriously?" I'm like, "Yeah." So I come to find out he had been there 30 days prior to me. Like, he wasn't telling anybody.
Older or younger?
Older. So he's 12 years older than me.
Okay.
And so he still does a stand up. He's on the East Coast. He was running our club, Pagliacci's, out in Pittsburgh. And we were doing it as more of a clean, we wanted a clean comedy club. We wanted to change the image, an edifying club. So that was
a comedy club or karate club?
A comedy club. So he was running out there.
So you guys have a comedy club in Pittsburgh.
So we had a club in Pittsburgh. The restaurant where we were inside that restaurant. They closed down. So it's kind of like, and it's just in a storage box right now. But I do have a show that I run, a club I run out here in California, up in Oxnard, and that's Corky. That's Corky's comedy club. Claude
that's
Stewart.
Your club.
Yep, Corky's is mine. So we got Claude Stewart coming in September 7th, and I do a lot of the hosting, and that helps me. It helps me, and we really push for like a good, clean. Comedy doesn't need to be dirty. It doesn't need to. Yeah. Oh, I will have you. I will have you. I got to be able to afford you. But it really is. It's in a winery. So they don't have a 2-drink minimum. They have like a 1 bottle minimum. And I always say, I go, and we'll bring bread to the table. We can have communion. And so it's allowed me, like my brother and I, it's allowed us to connect, and we've had our ups and downs in business, but we went on tour together. We did the Oh Brother comedy tour, but the show Bumping Mics, where comedians get up there and tell stories afterwards. We were doing that years ago, where he would start the show, I would come up and finish the show, and we'd get up there for 15, 20 minutes and just tell stories about growing up, tell stories about being on the road together. And it was, that's back when we were dirty. Like, now we're both clean, and it's I don't feel the pressures of having to be clean anymore. He's always afraid that he's going to say the wrong thing because of his ADHD. He's like, I'm gonna say the wrong thing. Where me, I teach kids all the time. Owning a production company and DJing bar and bat mitzvahs, tons of bar and bat mitzvahs. You got a room full of 13-year-old kids for 4 hours. You can't say the wrong thing, right? And we play music that's edited, and I'm always thinking and listening, what is being said. You don't want, one wrong word could hurt your career. And it's just not worth it.
I want to ask you something real quick before I forget. Have you ever got into a fight yourself?
Yes. So been in fights on the ice. So we talked about that. As far as a karate competitor, so my prowess is 98. I was on the U.S. team. Bill Viola, my teammate, we were both on the U.S. team. I stopped counting after 2,000 trophies and awards and a lot of fights. So each one of those trophies, you got to figure was at least.
No, I mean fight. Street fights, like outside
I'll get there. So for me, I did so much fighting in the dojo. I didn't have this need to be a street fighter, really, but I never backed down. And because when I fought in the ring and all those fights, a fight could last 2-3 minutes, depending on the tournament, how long those rounds are. Majority of my street fights was a one-hit wonder. Like, I remember one guy took a swing, I ducked, come up, caught him in the jaw, he knocked him out. And I'm telling him, get up, I'm not done yet, get up. Like I wanted more. And so I realized like that's not my platform for getting into fights. And I had a big guy once. As soon as he reared back to hit me, I back fisted him in the nose, broke his nose, and that was it. Like that was for somebody who trains in martial arts. Um, my verbal jujitsu got me out of a whole lot more. It's one of my best friend's favorite stories to tell. And actually, this is all in a book. The book, shameless plug for the book, is it's called Common Sensei. It's available on Amazon. What's the
Yeah.
digital version? I don't read digital books, and thanks to Audible,
Yeah.
I listen at a third grade
Me
level.
too.
It's
I'm an
great.
Audible guy, but
Yeah, like
yeah.
I love it. But so we're at college, University of Pitt Greensburg, and my best friend went to school there. And I went to hang out with my best friend. I wasn't in college. I was playing hockey, but during the day, I had nothing to do. And so the the days of like hang out with my best friend consisted of me sneaking onto campus because I wasn't a student, but I
Okay.
would go to the student. I would have lunch, and the funny thing is my uncle was dean of admissions, and he was the head of the English department at this time. But at one point in time, he was dean of admissions, so they knew my last name. And I went into campus one day, and I go into the student office, and I get a fake ID made for myself by saying I'm going to school in the fall. Could I just get my student ID? Oh my gosh, sure. So I got them to make me a real but fake ID because I was going to school there. So I'd go down to the cafeteria and I'd have lunch with my best friend. I would go to all the parties. You know, they'd be like, you can only come to the party if you're a student. Well, here's my ID. Oh, well, come on in. Right. And so a lot of people assume that my best friend and I were brothers because we were everywhere together. Well, one night, a guy was, stepping to me, and he tells the story. Apparently I was talking to his girlfriend. I don't remember that part of the story, but apparently it escalated to him and I getting into a shoving battle where it got broken up. And then he comes over and punches my best friend in the back of the head, sucker punches him, thinks it's me because they basically said, well, who are you fighting? He says, oh, that girl's brother. And they're like, well, that's Bill. That's her brother's Bill. Well, they thought I was her brother because we all hung out together. So with that, he punches my best friend in the back of the head. Now I'm over there and we're gonna throw down. And so this carries out into the hallway where he looks at me because I'm gonna, and a very colorful way of putting this is like, I'm gonna knock your teeth out. Remember, I played hockey. My teeth weren't real. I took my teeth out. I slammed them down on the table that was there. I go, now what do you want to do? And he looks at me and just walks away. Like, when you tell somebody you're gonna knock their teeth out, and then they take their teeth out.
Yeah, that's
I go,
funny.
do you have anything else you want to do? And they're like, yeah, no, I'm good now, thanks. Like I've totally misjudged this entire. And so there was that happened a couple of times where like there would be a fight or a possible fight, and I'd take my teeth out. Like if somebody takes their teeth out, you're like,
Yeah, I don't want to fight you now.
No, you've got nothing. You got nothing to lose, really, buddy. Like that was it. So, and the book Common Sensei, how to be a black belt in life, and it's a great book. It's a great read. It's a very well-rounded read. I'll put it that way.
Let me ask you this: how would Rocky Whatule be different if you never studied or taken karate?
Oh, wow. That's probably the best question I've ever been asked because for me, where most men compartmentalize, you know, Naz, we've always heard about the nothing box, right? That whole sermon about the men have this box, men have this box, men have this.
Yeah,
box.
my friend Mark Gunger does that.
Yes, yeah. All right. So that, for me, my life is like the woman's mind of spaghetti. Karate ties into hockey. Hockey ties into comedy. Comedy ties into being a dad, being a producer. It is all together. For me to try to imagine what my life would be like without karate, because it also, for me, when I meditate, you know, where I'm relaxing, I'm praying. At the beginning of our class, Mokuso, where it means to just open your mind up, I'm opening my mind to whatever God and the Holy Spirit is going to tell me. Like, what are we
Mm.
going to work on tonight, God? And in our dojo, at a traditional Japanese dojo, you'll say "Show Rei," which means bow to the front. There's usually a little platform or shelf, and they've got a bonsai tree or the picture of the person who started the karate or whatever. But it's a symbol of this is this is why we're here. That's really what this is why we're here. We're here for that guy. In our dojo, there is a kanji for the word Christ up at the
Mm.
front of the dojo, and we don't say "Shomini Rei," bow to the front. We say "Kamini Rei," which means bow to God. So I've had atheists, I've had um, Mormons, I have Jehovah's, everybody, and we bow to God. We respect. This is God's dojo.
Amen.
This is his school. And so for me, I I don't I don't know. Like it's just I'm called sensei so much. It's not so much that it's my identity. Like I I look back on my life where karate, what brought me back to the fold. Karate is been there and helped me identify the Israelite warriors in the Old Testament. They feared nothing. That's how the 30% of the samurai during the occupation of the Jesuit priests and the
Yeah.
Catholic priests that came over, they started converting the samurai to Christians. Those were the most feared samurai. Like the concept of being a samurai is a warrior. You honor. Samurai actually means to serve. So it means to serve your emperor. Well, that's what we are called to serve God, to have a servant's heart. So
Mm.
that's a tough one. Like I'm gonna think about that now. Like I'm gonna have to take that to my therapist to be like, what am I without karate? Like
No,
it's
I
gonna.
mean, would you be less confident? Would be
Oh my
more
gosh,
insecure?
yes,
Of course,
yes. And comedians on a level have a we have
insecurity.
we have an insecurity. We have an insecurity. Um, even Christian comics we do. You have and you have to grasp that thing at the end of the show that goes, listen, you know, it's God giving me the hug when I walk off stage. It's Jesus giving me that hug because that's the hardest feeling. You walk off stage and there's nobody there, or when you're on tour and there's nobody, your friends aren't there, your assistant's not there, your wife's not there, your girlfriend's not there, your husband's not there. You have that because everybody they just filled you up,
With endorphin, and then you have
and then
to leak it by alone. Yes.
right. You have to leak it alone. That for me is what was the hard part for me earlier in my career. And again, I was a Christian, but I wasn't a Christian comedian. Like I knew God, I knew the truth, but I wanted to live in the world. And what an amazing way to put it. Like you're filled up and now nobody's there to help you. You're like a balloon that just
Yeah.
all
There's
over the
yeah.
world.
You want to do stuff like, where's everybody? They were right. I'm standing there. There's 200 people. Want to shake my hand, take a picture. Where are you now? I'm eating by myself. And then what then? I'm gonna go to the hotel and I'm gonna do. I know exactly what you're saying, and
Yeah.
only comedians can relate to that, or artists. But what made you serious about your walk with Christ, Rocky?
So I mean, I teethed on the pew. Like I teethed on the pew in high school, dealing with my own crap in high school. And we all had stuff, but like I knew that there was a God, and I knew that my life was paid for. Um, that doesn't mean I lived every moment that way. And
Mhm.
so I I had a big come to Jesus moment where I got basically caught up in my sin, and I saw it, and that's when I pulled away from everything, and I realized that the only way back was to surrender and go, hey, I'm not going to be apologetic about what I believe. I'm not going to be apologetic because as a comedian, I wasn't apologetic for what I said, when I was dirty. So why should I be apologetic by what I believe? And
Right, that's a good
that
point.
like if I'd get up there and I'd say certain like I look at my original CD and I do wish that I could take it off of digital release. I don't own the digital rights to it. I mean, I get a residual check every now and then when people buy them, and um, I tie the 100% of that thing. Like, I'm sorry, God, but and I thank God that one of the last time I checked, you actually have to have the title of the CD, or it won't like if you search for Rocky Whatule, I don't think that it pops up. Like I think you actually have to have the title.
Good.
Thank
That's
God for
good.
that. And then, but the and we're gonna the funny thing is I told somebody the other day, I'm like, I think I should record a new CD, and they were like, a what? What are you're gonna record like a DVD? A who? Like nobody.
Who?
Like, oh, you mean a dry bar special? Like, yes, that's what we'll call that now.
Yeah.
But for me, there were things on there that weren't like the show that I did. Like I was laughing about the bio, the Hollywood Rock and Wrap Up show was making fun of Hollywood stars in their worst moments.
Mm,
The Lindsay Lohan helped me write a lot of jokes, and so did Charlie Sheen, and we laugh at them. But as I look back at it, I go, man, these are just broken people. These
mm,
are truly broken people. But I didn't care. I was telling my jokes, and I was
yeah.
being funny. Well, all that did was make people laugh. But if I could tell, what I feel about salvation, what I feel about, hey, listen, we all struggle, we all fall forward, come this direction, seek for help. Um, and if somebody gets offended by that, well, listen, people get offended by what I said before, but nobody was waking up tomorrow and going, wow, all those, those inappropriate toilet jokes,
Mm,
they're, they're, they're making sure I have a great eternal life. But there's a really good chance that something that I say, even if it's said comedically, you know, can change somebody's life, can make somebody think, you know,
right.
rethink things, like even about like, and I try so hard not to be political. I try not to make fun of the political platforms. I will make fun of a person in that level, and
Right.
even again feeling bad because I don't know who would want to get into politics. Like that's that's like being the goalie on a
Yeah.
hockey team. Like, so I could be the guy who shoots the puck into the net. No, can you fire that thing at my head 100 miles an hour? I think that sounds like that's the most fun for me.
Okay.
So go ahead.
Let me ask you, how can people, like, let's say parents want to bring their kid to start, how can they get a hold of you or your dojo? And
So
that's number one.
easiest way is go to rockkyw.com, rockyw.com. That's my personal entertainment comedy
Okay.
website. If you go to Sensei Rocky, and you can actually find my karate there. There's a link there. It actually talks about my testimony and stuff there. If you go to senseirocky.com, there's if you click that, that'll take you over to the karate. You spelled it right, perfect. That'll take you over to the karate school. Drop me an email. If you're on Facebook and Instagram, you can look at a lot of my friends. Like, there's other great martial artists out there. If you want to find my school, I'll help you out. I'm biased. Traditional Shotokan is a very strict school. We're almost like the Roman Catholic Church of martial arts. Like we're like the original, and we're like, this is the only way to do it. You can't go and do anything else. That's just God. That self-defense won't work for you. There's no God there. Like, it's
That's
like
funny.
but there's a lot of parallelism. There's a lot of similarities between martial
The
arts
Roman Catholic and
yeah,
your
yeah.
dojo. That. All right. So yeah, and then also, guys, if you want to book Rocky, he's a very funny guy, and you get clean comedy, you get a great personality, and also, hey, nobody's gonna fight that night because
That's right.
knowing he's
I did. I know we hit our hour, but the
yeah
next time you bring me back, I will tell you about the guy who sucker punched me after a comedy show,
at a
because he
comedy
did
show.
at the end of the night, I was selling merchandise. I'll tell you that's next to see.
No,
See now
no,
you
no.
got to.
Tell it now. I'll go
Are
longer.
you sure?
Tell me the
But
story.
we have an hour. We like I don't want to.
No,
I don't
that's
get
fine.
so.
We can go longer. I
Yeah,
own
that's. I thought I was
the
going to
rights
get
to
you to
the
bring me
show.
back that way. So,
No,
um, so it's a teaser. It's a cliffhanger.
I know.
Um,
Yeah. No,
so
don't leave me
the
hanging.
so I was at the 8th Street Comedy Club, or no, not the 8th Street. I can't remember the name of it. I was in Odessa, Texas,
Okay.
and it was a horrible, horrible club. And like I tell the joke, like I didn't get put at a Motel 6. It was like a Motel 5.
Oh, okay.
It was bad. Like they didn't have a Bible in the hotel room. You pulled out a drawer and there was a post-it note in there that said "Be nice." That was it. They so after the show, there are these two guys that were talking the whole way through the show, and I handled hecklers the way I did, which was I slammed them, right? And I
Yeah.
put them in their place, and I said some things that probably offended them, to say the least. And at the end of the night, I've got a row of people buying T-shirts and CDs, and this guy signs or has me sign the CD, sign the T-shirt, pays me, and as he's shaking my hand, he goes to sucker punch me with his left hand, and as he tightens up, I could feel it, and I rear back, and his knuckles just graze off the top of my head, and I bring my I bring my foot up, and I kick him in the chest as hard as I can, and he goes slamming against the wall, and the the bouncer grabs him, right, and throws him out the door. And the best way I could put it is I wanted to go out and finish the fight. I wanted to get out there, and at the moment I realized, like, like he is Hispanic, I could go out there and half his family could be there. Like I didn't know what was waiting for me out the door, but I also had so many people that were waiting to buy merchandise.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
in the
You
moment,
gotta
I
sell.
became a total opportunist. I'm like, all right, who wants a free CD and T-shirt? And I handed it to the next person in line. But they lived through this. They got to see this experience. But in reality, like it made me realize, like, listen, some people, they can be offended. And I had to be ready at that point. I made a choice that night. Like anything I say, I got to be ready to back up. And at that time, I didn't go, well, I'm going to honor God. But I always came back to that moment going, I lucked out. Guy could have had a knife. He really caught me off guard. Guy could have had a knife. Guy could have had anything. And
Right.
so I definitely have some great guardian angels. I believe in them that their fingers look worse than mine, I think.
So, how many T-shirts did you sell after that incident?
Oh, another 20. Another 20 T-shirts. I must have sold $500 in merchandise that night. It was beautiful.
I gotta set up that with someone to fake punch me. I hit him. Okay, we're $15. CDs. What do you mean a CD? DVD. I got a dry bar car special. Anyway, thank you so much. Thank you.
So
Thank
much
you
for having me. We'll have to do another show soon.
Yes.
For all the Laughter for All fans out there, I hope to see you at a future show with Naz. September 7th, shameless plug. If you're in the Oxnard area, September 7th, you can go to corkyscomedy.com. That's our website where we've got our tickets for sale. Corky's.
Who's headlining?
Claude Stewart's headlining, and Jen Murphy, two great clean comics, are coming in. And then in the very near future, we're going to get Naz to come on out.
Is it every month?
Show. I do, yeah, once a month. We do it once a month at the winery there, and it's absolutely fantastic.
Let me know. I would love to serve you.
Love you.
Love you,
Naz,
man.
Thank you so much for having me. Bye, everybody. Thank you guys for listening up.
Say hi to all the parents waiting for their kids to be trained because you took this hour with me.
I know. They're out there. Their parents are like, it's time to go home. So that's it. Bye, you guys. God bless.
Thank you so much. Thank you. All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching. And, again, Rocky, very funny, but also if you want your kids to be in karate, real karate, where they have that confidence in that, just go to senseirocky.com or go to rockyw.com. That will give you more access to be able to book him for your events and stuff. So thank you guys for watching. And I know next week we're going to have, I won't let you, because sometimes, you know what? People like Nicole Crank, who's the women's speaker, she canceled this morning. I mean, what do you do? what do you do? Or late last or yesterday, I was coming back, out of town. Like, oh, sorry, conflict of schedule. It's like, okay. So Rocky was supposed to be with us 2 weeks from now, so he ended up coming. So I won't tell you who's going to be next, but look it up and we'll let you know. Love you guys. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to the show and let your friends know about it. And again, September 14th, if you know anybody in the Northern California area, lead them to the Red Bluff Laughter for All.org. They can get their free tickets.